We used to think of conspiracy theories as those insane stories told by crackpots with tinfoil hats living in their mother's basements. More recently, we have seen the incredible price that these stories can inflict on society when wielded by people with ill intent. But though conspiracy theories are generally a source of ridicule and a target of distaste, that doesn't mean they aren't true. The most well-known and often repeated conspiracy theory regarding the NBA is the company men on the floor variety. The idea here is that the referees manipulate game scores to correspond to the league's needs. We have all watched a game and felt that something is off with the refereeing. Maybe the bigger team with more fans is getting all the calls. Or perhaps the superstar receives the benefit of every single call. But when we voice our suspicions, people say we are paranoid. Well, the company men on the floor conspiracy theory proves that just because you're a paranoid doesn't mean they aren't after you. The evidence of a problem with tilted officiating in the NBA centers on Tim Donaghy. He was a well-considered referee, officiating in 772 regular season games and 20 playoff matchups from 1994 to 2007. But his career came to an end when Donaghy resigned in 2007. The referee was found guilty of taking money from a professional gambler and spent 13 months in a federal prison. The NBA has long maintained that he is a rogue, isolated criminal. But isn't that precisely what you would expect them to say? Donaghy insisted that the leagues had been rigging games to increase ratings. How would they do that? Primarily by calling fouls against the smaller team, or alternatively to extend a long-anticipated series and get to a significant rating in Game 7. The Bucks faced off with the Philadelphia 76ers over the right to play the Lakers in the NBA Conference Finals. Sixers star Allen Iverson was one of the biggest stars of his generation, and plenty of observers believe that David Stern wanted to see him in the finals against Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal. The way the referees called that series did little to quell these fears. Philadelphia won Games 1 and 2 on some very controversial calls. By the time it was over, the Sixers had an advantage of 186-120 in free throws, 12-3 technical, and 5-0 flagrant fouls. At the end of Game 7, the Bucks gave the referees a sarcastic standing ovation. Milwaukee star Ray Allen said, "I think there's no question about that. As a marketing machine, the league's bottom line is about making money. So it behooves everybody for the league to make more money. And the league knows that Philadelphia will make more money with LA than we would with LA." Ray and Bucks coach George Karl were fined $85,000 for claiming the series was rigged. The whole thing was repulsive. One of the most disgraceful refereeing displays in league history involved Tim Donaghy. As a result, the Kings were ahead 3-2 in the series and were one win away from a conference finals appearance against the New Jersey Nets. The Kings that year were an incredible team. They finished 61-21, were the number 1 seed in the West, and arguably the best team in the league. They finished 3 games ahead of the Lakers and looked better all season. Though Los Angeles had Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, they had some serious chemistry issues that year. David Stern had once said that his dream NBA final matchup was Lakers versus Lakers. I would be lying if I said there wasn't a special fascination with the Lakers. But, of course, that meant the fans weren't already suspicious that the refs would prefer a Los Angeles victory. But the events of that game did nothing to dispel these suspicions. Tim Donaghy later told NBC, "There's no doubt in my mind that the Sacramento Kings should have a ring on their finger. They were the best team in the league that year." But, unfortunately, that Game 6 was a situation where they got robbed towards the end of the game. And if you watch that game, especially the fourth quarter, your jaw will drop. The Lakers shot 27 free throws in the fourth quarter alone. That is more than 2 shots per minute, and more than the Kings had in the entire game. In addition, star center Vlade Divac fouled out on a bad call, and all-star Chris Webber was on the verge of fouling out. These calls completely hobbled the team and allowed the Lakers to win a game in what seems to have been a very unfair manner. Perhaps most memorably, Chris Webber was called for an offensive foul with 3 minutes left when Robert Horry threw himself dramatically on the floor. Commentator Bill Walton called it a terrible call. Later, Webber cleanly blocks Kobe and is called for a foul. But the worst call of all came with 14 seconds to play, with the Lakers up 103-102. Kobe blatantly elbowed Mike Bibby in the face to get the ball right in front of the referee, but there was no whistle. When looked at in totality, there is no chance the Lakers could have beat the Kings in that game without an incredibly lopsided display of officiating throughout the entire game. There is simply no way around it. Sacramento was a better team, and they played like it in Game 6. Is Tim Donaghy the only referee involved in fixing games? He says absolutely not. Some point to the Hall of Fame referee Dick Bavetta as someone who also engaged in this behavior. Dick first officiated a game in 1975 and never missed a game. Before his retirement in 2014, Bavetta officiated a record 2,635 games. However, Donaghy says the esteemed referee was more involved than anyone in fixing games. He remembers, "I was officiating one game with Dick Bavetta, and he told me he had the Miami Heat a few weeks prior and had a bad game, and owed Lamar Odom some favors. That was one game I knew would win, and the Heat would cover." Donaghy had a tarnished reputation, and we can easily dismiss his allegations against Bavetta as jealousy over the high esteem the veteran referee enjoys in the game. However, others have also noticed a severe problem with his officiating. For example, after the Lakers-Kings series, ESPN columnist Bill Simmons wrote, "If you examine the last 4 NBA playoff campaigns, during every situation where the league definitively needed one of these two teams involved to win, either to A. change the momentum of a series so it didn't end prematurely, B. keep an attractive big market team alive in a series, or C. advance an attractive big market team to another round, the officiating appeared to be slanted towards the team that needed that game." He named 7 games as highly suspicious in this regard, then noted Dick Bavetta was assigned to every one of those above games. That's an absolute fact. You can look it up. While the Tim Donaghy affair took place over 15 years ago, the suspicions of rigging games continue unabated. Some things never change. In a series between the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings, Draymond Green stomped on Sacramento star Domantas Sabonis. Fans expected Green to be suspended for several games, but when that did not materialize, one fan tweeted, "The league has heard the hashtag NBA rig narrative. They need to suspend Draymond to prove its legitimacy." Meanwhile, another took a more conspiratorial view, tweeting, "Draymond Green and Domantas Sabonis are in the locker room together right now, laughing at these fanboys who think the NBA is real." Meanwhile, the Lakers got into the playoffs despite having a mediocre season. To everyone's surprise, they have now also beaten the Memphis Grizzlies to advance to the second round of the playoffs. That has led some suspicious fans to speculate that history is repeating itself, and that the NBA brass is assisting the Lakers and LeBron James through their loyal referees. The company men on the floor theory is the most popular, but several others give the NBA similar motives but different methods of achieving them. For example, many fans believe the NBA draft is skewed to help the biggest teams get better picks. So, for example, when the New York Knicks landed the first pick in the 1985 draft, some speculated that the paper had a bent corner, helping the league make sure that the big market team landed Patrick Ewing. The draft conspiracy theories came back in 2011. The Cavs sent Dan Gilbert's 14-year-old son, Nick, who suffers from neurofibromatosis, to represent the team. When Cleveland won first place in the draft, some believed the feel-good story was just a bit too convenient for the NBA. Around that time, national TV broadcasts also focused obsessively on the big market teams. even ignoring two-time champions Rockets at their prime. Many believe that David Stern and the NBA encouraged this as part of their record of preferring to push the big teams. Are these theories true? In most cases, almost certainly not. Look, most basketball calls are based on judgment. The game comes at you hard and fast, and referees make mistakes. Sometimes they are very costly ones for the losing team. In addition, the referees are also human beings and are influenced by circumstances. For example, they are likely to give the home team a break on 50-50 calls. And there is no doubt about it, they give too much respect to the big stars, who enjoy calls regular players do not benefit from. All this together is the basis for a lot of the conspiracy theories. But that doesn't mean these theories are nonsense. The Tim Donaghy case provides ironclad proof that referees manipulate games to benefit big-money gamblers. And his charges regarding NBA orders to influence scores do ring true. Moreover, plenty of circumstantial evidence supports Donaghy's claim that Dick Bavetta was involved in some shady manipulation of results. While most of our specific suspicions and accusations are probably nonsense, it would be naive to say that there are no dirty dealings involving refereeing in the NBA. Luckily, today we have a more diverse group of title winners than we did in the past. The Lakers and Celtics don't dominate titles the same way anymore, which helps. But there are plenty of actors trying to alter NBA results for their nefarious purposes. And, now and then, they certainly succeed.